Sales. My name is Jonathan Healy, and it is my distinct pleasure to be your host for the next little while. Fingers crossed, if the internet allows me to do that. It's lovely to see you all with me this morning. We've got Alistair and Brendan and Cathal and Katrina and Joe, and we have another Jonathan there, and Ken and Mike and Muad and loads of people, including Vicky. Good to see you all. 118 at the moment watching us, and that number is going to continue to rise over the course of the next hour or so. We've got some really interesting speakers coming up talking about this entire area of sales and marketing and the opportunity that exists right now for you to get support, to target, to focus, and to make sure that you are ready to weather whatever storm comes next. We have been dealing with an effective form of perma-crisis for the last while. We had the crash over a decade ago. Then we've got the issues that hit us with Brexit and how we thought that was going to be the worst thing that could ever happen. And then along came COVID, and that was the worst thing that could ever happen. We've since had a war break out in Europe, and now tech is on the verge of slowing down. That is causing further instability in the market. All of this is pressing down on your business, meaning that you're worried about how you're going to be able to respond, react, and deliver for your customers wherever they may be. Even the weather isn't playing ball these days because it seems to have been raining nonstop for the last 2 weeks, but it isn't all doom and gloom. Within all of those crises, there is an opportunity for you to grow and develop, and the opportunity lies in running the rule over your business. There's never a bad time to lift that bonnet and see what is going on underneath the surface. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the supports that are available from Enterprise Ireland. We're going to hear from other businesses just like yours who have been through this process already and have come out the far side in better shape. So that's what we're going to do over the course of the next hour. It is interactive. We do need your questions. So if you're watching us on a laptop, on Zoom, the Q&A button is down the bottom of the screen. It is somewhere on your mobile device, depending on what you're looking at us on. But please do send us questions. I won't ignore them, but I am going to hold on to them until the very end of the webinar when we'll put them to our panelists. But let's introduce our first speaker this morning. He is the Manager of Global Comms and Strategic Marketing and Events for Enterprise Ireland. Conor O'Donovan has turned his mic and camera on just as planned. Conor, good morning.
Thanks, Jonathan, and good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to welcome you here to our Winning Sales webinar, and thanks to our panel speakers and the team for making this possible. So this webinar was developed because of the significant interest we've seen from clients in the area of sales and marketing, as Jonathan mentioned earlier. So there are three major data points that informed us about this. The first is our annual client survey showed that sales and marketing is actually the #1 area of client need. The second piece of research was our client pulse survey in September just gone, in which clients asked us to provide more sales and marketing activities and support to their businesses, because this is what will ultimately help drive growth in exports and sales. And we had an overwhelming response to International Markets Week, where the team were available to meet client companies around their sales and digital marketing needs. And this was actually oversubscribed, which is one of the main drivers behind today's webinar. And we're currently planning more webinars and initiatives in this area. And as my colleague Nagma will take you through later, we have a range of financial and advisory supports to help you and your business compete and win in this new competitive economic environment. But for now, I'd like to thank all of our panelist speakers and hand back to you, Jonathan. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Conor. Much appreciated. That just shows you the appetite that's out there. If they were swarmed at that sales and marketing desk, it means that you guys are already realizing that this is an area where you can improve. Let's face it, who doesn't want more sales? Who doesn't want to market their business better? But your business is your business, and you might be better at other things than you are at sales and marketing. You can't be brilliant at everything, which is why that support is so vital. And the good news is support is available from the likes of Enterprise Ireland. So we've heard her mentioned already. Let's bring in the Senior Sales and Marketing Specialist with Enterprise Ireland, Nagma Riley. Nagma, good morning to you.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us this morning. What you will hear this morning is based around an EI support called Strategic Marketing Review, SMR. SMR is a transformative program for your senior management team, which can significantly impact your rate of scaling and international growth. The program takes the form of workshops and mentoring sessions that are focused on every company's stage of growth. it will really give your senior management team a unique opportunity to take time out of managing the day-to-day activities and come together in a structured environment to discuss the issues that are impacting your business and to unlock a plan for growth. The output of this process is a practical action plan that identifies the key priorities for you for the short to medium term. The content of the workshop is around a framework that was designed by Enterprise Ireland based on our 50+ years of experience of working with exporting companies in multiple geographies and identifying what makes them successful. I'm going to take a few minutes now to go through some of the topics that we cover as part of this engagement. The first area we look at is what we call insights, and under that we cover continuous intelligence gathering, which is really a discussion around what do you understand about the customers, the competitors, and the markets you go after. Do you understand how your customers buy? Does your selling process mirror their buying process? And the output of this segment is really a clarity around the market segments that you need to focus on. We then look at customer value proposition, and customer value proposition really is about asking your customers the value that you bring to them, not what you perceive the value to be. Then the next area we look at is resources. And under the resources, we asked, do you have sales and marketing budgets? Do you have KPIs associated with your marketing activities? Or do you just move from one event to another and don't really evaluate the impact of that activity on your sales and marketing? Under finance, we ask that you do an analysis of your customers, who's profitable and who's not. And normally when we have this, there's a good robust conversation between the CFO and the head of sales, because your CFO's favorite customer might not be your sales person's head of customer favorite customer, and vice versa. But really, this is around understanding the type of customers that are bringing profit to you and the ones that you are not contributing to your bottom line, and maybe you should disengage with them. And this really ties in with your market segmentation, because your priority market segments should really be the profitable ones. And then under peoples and skills, we ask who is in sales and marketing, and do they have the right skills to deliver growth for your business. Then the last area we look at, we call execute. So we talk about sales process. So how do you manage leads as they come into your business and until they're closed? Do you have CRM? Or the source of your leads outbound, inbound, and so on? Then your route to market really is around, if you sell directly to your customers, is that the best way to scale? Or if you're using partners, agents, distributors, channel partners, how do you manage that relationship to make sure you get the maximum out of it? External comms is really around, what does your collateral, your website, your social media presence say about you? Does it talk to the customer segments that you've identified? And also, does it talk about the value that you bring to each of those segments? Then the last area we look at is internal communications. So especially now with hybrid working being common among most of our clients, is everyone on board in terms of the vision of the senior management team? Does everyone know where this business is heading to and what the priorities are? And really at the heart of this framework, we have ambition, passion, vision, and commitment. So what is the ambition of the senior management team for this business, and what's the commitment for growing it? So I'll hand you back to Jonathan, where you will hear actually from some of the clients and consultants that have worked with us on this SMR.
Brilliant, Egba. Thank you very much indeed. I love lots of circly charts. It just shows you that this is something that has been thought about a lot in the past. And there are no two companies who are watching us right now, and there's nearly 200 of you watching right now, who do things the same way. You've always going to do things differently. You might have been big on sales at the start of the process, but have found yourselves working in other parts of the business, maybe finding it hard to let go. You might be doing different things now to when your company started out. You may very well be in markets that are really different. I remember being at an Enterprise Ireland event about working in Germany a couple of years back and being fascinated at how that market is different compared to the markets they would be used to in Ireland or the UK, for example. So as I said, it's a very broad area, and until you drill down and find out what are the key issues, how you can make things better and put in place an SMR plan, then are you actually doing right by the business that you've worked so hard to build up? So let's bring in our next speaker. Siobhan Maughan is an SMR consultant. We'll let you turn your microphone and your camera on. Siobhan, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Lovely to talk to you. Siobhan, you might give us a little bit about your background in 30 seconds, just as to how you ended up as a consultant in this space.
Yeah, so my background, I started off as an engineer actually many years ago as a software engineer, and I moved into the area of product management. So I headed up product management for one of Ireland's largest indigenous software companies at the time, OpenNet. And in that role, I was responsible for looking after about 8 products. So that really got me into the strategic market side of things. So moved on from there to become a consultant in the area, working with Enterprise Ireland, scaling clients and helping them in those areas of strategic marketing.
Okay, very good. So you've got a good grounding to talk us through this. What is a high performing sales and marketing team? What does it look like? And what is the importance of it to any business?
Yeah, so I suppose it's multifaceted, Jonathan. I mean, it starts with a high performing sales and marketing team has a really good understanding of the vision for the business. In fact, they've probably helped to formulate that strategy, and their role is to work cross-functionally to drive buy-in and support for that vision. So they'd be engaging with markets to capture insights. They'd be ensuring that strategic decisions are made based on the right evidence captured by those insights. And they're supporting the business to focus on strategic market opportunity. So they'd have a good value proposition, they'd have validated market opportunities, they'd be helping the business to communicate their differentiation. And in order to do this, they'd be very well resourced. And Nagma spoke about the budgets that are needed to make sure that they can do the roles they need to do. Marketing covers a lot of different areas, and there's the strategic side that captures insights, and then there's the outbound side that works on websites, that looks at content development, that does social media engagement. So it's a combination of all of those areas and how they work together to drive the vision. The sales team will be working really closely with strategic marketing and product management to ensure that their forecasts are aligned with the vision and where the products are targeted. And they'll drive their sweet spot partner profiles. They'll be actively engaging on strong sales channels. And if they're expanding globally, they'll be really looking at the cultural nuances in different geographic regions. So ultimately, a high-performing sales and marketing team, it requires really strong cross-functional interaction. So the team, they need to be sharing goals, they need to be interacting all the time and very aligned with the vision.
My background's broadcasting, okay? So in a radio station, the sales team and the marketing team couldn't be any more different. The marketing team are all happy based on scientific data. Sales guys down and dirty in the ditch, hustling for every last cent. They very rarely cross-pollinate each other in the world of broadcasting in the way that they should. But what you're saying is it's vital that they do, despite them being kind of on different sides of the same coin.
Absolutely. And I mean, the way to align is around the vision. Every business should have a vision of where they want the future to be and where they want sales and what markets they want to target. And sales and marketing need to be working together to align around that vision and to drive their different functional units to achieve that vision.
Let's talk about the challenges the companies that you've been working with face. Now, as I said, every company is unique, but there really are very few unique problems, aren't there?
Yeah, I mean, I think this has to be considered in the context from which the different companies are coming. So for a startup, for example, they're established with a strong belief that they have identified a gap in the market that they want to fill. So they're very enthusiastic. Their investors are keeping them very sales focused. They're very keen to get their idea to market as quickly as possible. And they'll hire engineers for technology companies. They'll prototype solutions. They'll be trying to validate that idea. What they tend to be a little reluctant to do is get caught up in what they might see as time-consuming market research. They might not be thinking as much about their target segments as they should, and they may not be structuring that thinking. So sometimes they could create products without a real focus on the needs in the market and the competitive offerings. And I suppose one of the things that we need to understand for a startup, competition is not necessarily direct, it's often indirect, and it's a way that businesses are doing things already and that you want to change them away from. So you do have to capture quite a bit of insights to understand how the market is working right now. For a small to medium-sized business, they can equally lose sight of the importance of thinking strategically, because once they're successful in a market, the temptation is to chase down every revenue opportunity they can see. They become very sales and revenue focused, but not necessarily market focused. So what do I mean by that? Well, I think they're sometimes not clear whether the solution they're positioning to market has broader market appeal, or it's simply a one-off opportunity for a particular customer. And that's the risk with driving sales sometimes, that you identify quite a lot of bespoke opportunities or custom opportunities for your product, but there isn't broad appeal. So I suppose it does depend. The challenge really for the companies is focus. For the ones that I've been working with, it's that focus on strategic market opportunity.
And I suppose that is the fear that everybody has. If they turn down an opportunity, no matter how small it is, well, what happens if it doesn't come along again? But as a result, then you do lose that focus. Some of the companies that you've been working with, though, realized the benefit straight away when they started focusing a little bit more, didn't they?
Yeah, so actually one of the companies today, frankly, are here to talk about the engagement, I suppose, through the SMR. And, they're a cloud-based performance management software provider, and they were very keen to focus on opportunities, maybe such as scaling tech companies who have yet to invest in HR capacity. And their view is they really needed to get out there and think about the segment they were focusing on and think about their needs really clearly, because again, their opportunity was really, really broad, and they wanted to make sure that they were positioning their solution in a way that made sense and that would resonate with the market.
So when you are going about this, how should you do it? What should they consider if they're about to do an SMR? It's great to say that I'm doing an SMR review, but that's like saying I want to start out on the road to clarity without knowing where the road actually is. So how do they go about doing it?
Well, I mean, through the SMR process and working with the consultant, there's part of the process is what we call a download workshop, where we engage with the client to figure out where they are. So what is their current context? So their mission, what are they doing, for who and how? Their vision, where are they trying to get to? What kind of smart metrics have they set for the business, or OKRs? And then we work through trying to identify, I suppose, what are the gaps in their business, and then to structure the mentoring days. So when I worked with Frankly, we structured the days of mentoring that were available to suit their context, and their context was around getting more focus on where sales were coming from, understanding their ideal customers, for example. So they had already won customers and were doing well, but they hadn't spent time really delving into, well, why have we won those and what was good about those deals? And then looking at buyer analysis in more detail and prioritizing. So for a smaller company, we don't get into an unwieldy segmentation exercise. We do this in as light a way as we possibly can to help them gather evidence to indicate that one segment is better than the other. And then we helped with thinking about putting together, again, a lightweight value proposition that they could take to market and help them to win more demos, because they were getting a lot of demos. Their problem was closing out on those demos.
Well, we'll speak with Frankly a little bit later on. I mean, what you're saying is it's not a radical readjustment. What it is targeted, carefully focused review of what you're doing well and how you can do more of it.
Absolutely. Yeah,
brilliant.
that's
Okay,
really important.
Siobhan, you're going to stay with us. If people have questions, they can send them through us on the Q&A button, which is down the bottom. But for now, Siobhan Maughan, thank you very much indeed. We are blessed with not one, but two SMR consultants with us today. Roddy Feely is also with us. He is there. Good morning, Roddy.
Morning, Jonathan. Morning, folks.
Just a little bit like Siobhan, you might tell us a little bit about how you ended up in this space.
Okay, sure. So I have a 25-year career in international markets. I was thinking about, back in my career, it was actually very, very late on before I even made a sale in Ireland. I've worked and lived in international markets, worked in Belgium and worked for companies across a number of different industries. About 2/3 of my career has been in specific sales and marketing roles, and then I crossed the Rubicon into logistics and worked on distribution and customer service. Again, entering and selling into international markets. So very much my passion, if you like, and spent, after that 25-year career, I've been a consultant for about 10 years, where I'm working primarily with SMEs on growth strategies and market entry strategies.
As I said, a lot of the companies right now, they're exporting. They want to export to other markets. The world is their oyster. But there are those little individual quirks in each market that might trip them up and cause them to lose that most valuable commodity, time. Is that where the strategic approach comes in, that you spend your time and put your effort into the market where you've done your research, as opposed to chancing your arm somewhere where you don't have the groundwork done?
Yeah, and I guess in reflecting on that, Jonathan, in one of the roles that I had as international markets manager, I was responsible for all the markets outside of Ireland, the US and the UK, about 60 plus markets. We were a team of 4, 2 of us on the sales and marketing side, customer service support and an admin support. We had the smallest budget in the business, and we had to find a way prioritize, because we couldn't be everywhere. And if you have 60 markets to take care of, you just can't physically be in them all. So we had to ask ourselves some tough questions around how do we prioritize and how do we best use and allocate the resources that we have available to us. So we actually went through all of the markets and we asked ourselves, why is this market important to us as a business? How easy is it to do business in this country or in this market? How do we start comparing markets to each other? And where is our competitive advantage? And that was easily changed from one market to the other. Did we understand the risk of doing business in different markets in different countries? And ultimately, we were asking ourselves the big question: where will we make money? And having done that and sort of tossed those questions around and started to answer and address them, we kind of distilled it down to 3 things, and we called it resource prioritization. So what markets will give us the best return based on the available resources we have? Risk assessment. So do we have enough knowledge and insight into the market to make business decisions and to prioritize them? And then around the whole point of value creation, and this kind of links back into what Siobhan was saying, when we look at our value proposition, can we actually compete in the different export markets, and does that value proposition stack up in all the markets that we were looking to enter into?
They're very good basic guidelines. You've been involved 25 years in international markets. We are blessed to have you today, because obviously you've made no mistakes whatsoever in all of that time, Roddy, not a single one. But no doubt you've heard of others being made along the way that you might share with us.
Yeah, I've absolutely made plenty of mistakes myself on the market entry. Mainly, I would say personally, is probably taking shortcuts. And again, I'd go back to a point that I'll pick up from Siobhan, about the market research. And also in dealing with SMEs over the last 10 years, I guess I'd have what we call pattern recognition. So in having the conversations and going through those download exercises on the SMR framework, a lot of companies take this very sales-led approach, where they chase every sale, and they're not really looking at the long-term value of a sale in a particular market. They're not investing that time upfront and having the patience to do that little bit of research, understand the market, and really validate the commercial opportunity for the business in that marketplace. I have lots of conversations with companies around the kind of shotgun approach, where we'll just go after as many markets as we possibly can. Some of them will stick, maybe one big one will stick, and everybody's excited at the beginning. But the reality is, in SMEs, we don't have the resources for that to be a sustainable strategy. And eventually, either we start to drop the ball, or the market or the customers in the market start to lose interest in us because we're not investing and supporting it. The other thing is, we assume that because we do really well in our home and our domestic market, that our value proposition will be seen in the same way in an export market. And we don't really try to validate it, and we don't get into conversations with end user customers or prospective customers to really test that value proposition and understand whether or not what we offer in our domestic market really is seen as providing value in the export situation. And if you think about it, in SMEs, we have limited resources, and very often those limited resources are down to people and down to cash to invest in growing and developing our business. And again, just touching base with what Siobhan said, very often we're happy to invest in product, we're happy to invest in technology. But investing in that little bit of upfront research and understanding of markets that we're targeting can absolutely reduce the risk for the business, but more importantly, it validates the opportunity. And we can then go into a market with confidence, knowing how we're going to approach it, and knowing that there's a high likelihood that we will succeed and obviously make money in that context.
Yeah, that shotgun approach never works. I've never found it to work in my life, yet people still persist with it because, hey, sure, it worked here, it's bound to work everywhere. How can you avoid those mistakes then, Roddy? How do you go about preventing falling into the same traps that others may have fallen into beforehand?
Yeah, and this is, the whole question around market selection and prioritization comes up very frequently on the SMR programs. And we're lucky today, and I was trying to remember, did I even have any sort of tool when I was doing this? And I don't think I had, but there is a tool out there, and it's readily available for people to download off the internet, called a Market Attractiveness and Accessibility Framework. And what it does is helping you to take that little bit more of a strategic approach to your market selection. And it's like applying a filter and saying, look, I want to be able to compare 2, 3, 4 markets with each other. And you start out by looking at the macro level. So you're looking at things that are important, such as population growth, demographics, the social aspect of a particular market, whether the economy is growing or in decline, what sectors are of most important to you in terms of their growth, down to a filter then, how easy is it actually to access that market? And we start to look at things like, what skills would I need to do business in that market, from things like language, for example, being able to translate documentation into other languages, understanding the culture of doing business in that market, and more specifically then, what type of customers exist in that market that are easily accessible to me in order to grow my business in that market. And that kind of gives you this kind of overview that enables you to give a weighting to each one of the criteria and attributes, and then compare market A to market B to market C. And that's kind of a first start. And that really does give you a very quick, ready reckoner to say, look, very clearly, market A is the winner here. It's the one that we've scored the best as a business. And you'd score that across your senior management team. The second point then is to take, sorry, go ahead.
No, go on, what's the second filter? Yeah.
Second filter is very much company specific. So now if we believe that market A is really important, we believe there's an opportunity there, we now need to take it down to, well, what makes a market attractive to us as a business? What makes a market easy for us to do businesses? And we, again, select a certain number of attributes and criteria, and then compare and contrast those across the different markets. And there are times when you apply the second filter that it actually reverses the first one. And you actually realize, when it comes to the market A, on the surface looks great, but when we actually look for our business and our industry and how we need to approach and provide value in the marketplace, it's not quite as attractive as we initially thought it would be. And that often requires, and I think this is one of the key things that I think is a misstep sometimes in market selection, it usually requires the company to get into the market. and have conversations with potential end user customers or potential partners, distributors or agents to really get those insights that match up to our needs.
Yeah, it's almost like we do have the traditional approach of, hey guys, I'm here, I'm great, why don't you like me? And that very rarely works if you don't do your market research. You've applied that two-filter process with some of the companies that you've worked with. What was the outcome?
Yeah, in fact, there's one of the companies that I worked with on it are market leaders in Ireland and the UK with a really, really strong brand. And they actually lead by a country mile in both of those countries. But as a business, they've never really took on the international markets. And as part of the SMR process, they wanted to really expand and grow. So they did an in-house selection. They selected about a dozen markets, and they went through that attractiveness accessibility model, pulled together enough information and data, and started to narrow it down to about 3 markets that they would say were priority for those. And one of those markets was France, and they did an extra step, which I thought was fantastic. They went to France and did some and commissioned specific market research to understand how that market worked and the size of the market. And quite ironically, what they found is it was very similar in infrastructure to the UK. It had a very strong retail side and a very strong kind of professional wholesale side. And they were really good. They were really strong in both in the UK. So they got very excited about France as a big opportunity. Then we started drilling into the second filter, and the guys got out into the market. They met some of the prospective retail customers. They met some guys on the professional side, and they quickly realized that their value proposition was falling down. And the key problem was that there were very, very strong, both French and international competitors, well established in the market. And when they started showing their products and talking about their value proposition, the kind of buyers were shrugging their shoulders saying, so what? And it was kind of you might say, well, Roddy, that's not success. In their eyes, it was total success because they realized that they would have put the business at significant risk and cost to even have a crack at the French market. And
so I get now the negative Irish approach is that they came home with their tail between their legs, but they didn't. They applied the second filter, did they?
They absolutely, yeah. And that second filter enabled them to realize that France was probably not the best place for them to be. And one of the things, and I was asking the MD, what do you think of the whole process? And one of the quotes he came back to me, he said, Roddy, I've realized that nobody is waiting for us in international markets. So just because we're the number one in the UK and we believe we have everything we need, the reality is they needed to rethink their value proposition for going into international markets, and that's the direction they've headed off on now.
Okay. There's a lot to take in there. People will probably identify things in their own business from that story alone. Just 2 questions that have come in that I'll put you now. Can a link to market attractiveness and accessibility framework mentioned by Roddy be shared to participants? Could you repeat the name of the attractiveness tool? What was it, Roddy?
It's the market attractiveness and accessibility tool.
Okay. And where can people find that?
Well, what I'll do is I'll share it back to the guys in the SMR, and maybe they could share it out to the people who've joined the webinar.
Absolutely. And we'll be sending on any slides and any other things that might come up throughout the webinar a little bit later on. Finally, Roddy, if you were to give one solid bit of advice to the people who are watching right now, what would it be? Do
your research and validate the opportunity.
Okay, solid as a rock. Roddy, stay with us because we have more questions that we'll put to you a little bit later on. But that's the practical side. But those are 2 very good consultants working in this space. But how does it work in reality for businesses who've already gone through the process and are already seeing the benefits on the far side, or at least are partway through the process and know that the benefits are very tantalizingly close? There's 3 companies we want to focus on. They are Frankly, Ethos Engineering, and Mullen Lighting. Colm Devon is the co-founder, excuse me, and executive director of Ethos Engineering. He's with us. Noel Dykes is the founder and CEO of Frankly, and David McAree is the sales and marketing manager with Mullen Lighting. We'll ask them to turn their cameras and their microphones on. Good morning to you all. Lovely to talk to you. I'm going to begin by asking you each, just give us the 30-second elevator pitch as to what you do, because you're in very different sections. Colm, I'll begin with you.
Thanks, Jonathan. Good morning, everybody. Colm Devon here from Ethos, and we're a mechanical electrical design consultancy. set up in 2005. So we're a relatively young company in the industry. We're based in Dublin, and over the last number of years, we've grown to a workforce of about 150 staff. So we're predominantly in the data center, commercial and residential sectors, also in high industrial and biopharma and medtech sector.
Okay, some of them really busy, which I'm guessing will feed into our conversation. Noel, tell us about Frankly. What do you do? We heard a little bit earlier from Siobhan.
Yeah, just building on that. Good morning, all. So Frankly is a cloud-based performance management software platform, and I suppose our main aim is equipping startups and scale-ups to build high-performing teams. So that's what we do, and we do that through continuous performance management. And the focus is really linking people strategy to the business strategy. So putting the people at the center of everything that you do in terms of goal setting, better one-to-ones, better conversations, better feedback. So yeah, that's our business. We were established 2017. We're in startup kind of growth mode ourselves. So international customers, team of 10, remotely out of Ireland, but headquartered out of Sligo. And we're currently selling into international markets, but with a focus on Ireland and the UK.
Okay, very good. And finally, David, you win the award for the nicest backdrop. I brought a plant, but you brought a lovely wall. Tell us a little bit about what you guys do in Mullen.
Hi, my name is David. I work in the group leader here in sales and marketing in Mullen Lighting. As the name might suggest, we make lighting. We design and manufacture handmade decorative lighting in our own facility here in County Monaghan. Our home market's around 20%, the rest is export. All our sales and marketing is done here in-house. I suppose subconsciously and maybe unconsciously, some people, and this is 208 people at the moment, may have sat under a Mullen light in a bar or a restaurant at some point. So it's decorative lighting, anything from small picture lights to 3-meter chandeliers.
I love the way that normally when you're on a webinar like this, someone will say, well, you've more than likely eaten my ham at some point. Nobody has ever said you've sat under my light. So I welcome the change. It's good to hear. Let's talk about your own SMR journey if we can. Colm, how did you embark on it? Why did you embark on it? What was the genesis of the idea for you?
Well, I was basically during COVID, and like everything else, a downturn sort of makes you think as a business. And we wanted to grow internally, but the market in Ireland is quite restricted. So we said, how are we going to grow? Have we got the tools to grow? And where are we going to go? And it's not just simply, I think Roddy mentioned earlier, it's not just to jump into an external market and here we are, we're brilliant, we're great. That's not going to work outside of Ireland. And for us, we needed the correct tools to actually get into a European market where we knew that was where the growth was for our company. So that's the purpose and the reason why we set into looking at an SMO program. We had done a number of programs with EI in the past, Go Global for Growth and Innovation for Growth. So I think we saw the benefit of these programs, and so I suppose that was the purpose of and the main reason why we set up upon an SMO program.
Noel, was the rationale very similar for you, that you needed to tailor your market a little bit more so that you were hitting the people who needed the product more than those who might be half interested? Yeah, definitely, very much so. Probably slightly bit different for us. It was really around refinement and clarity. We felt we were, I know Siobhan's already said it, but we were getting quite a lot of demos coming in from different businesses and different verticals and different sectors. And what we really wanted to do was to double down on the ones that were going to progress, that were, going to stick around, and that kind of investment in the lead time for those conversions would reduce significantly. So what we were seeing was a lot of interest up front, but closing was taking a long time. So clarity and refinement, and to be perfectly honest, as a smaller team, it was stepping out of the detail. We were very product led as a business, and I took it upon myself that the leadership team needed to step away from the doing day to day and really have some time to strategically think about where we were going and how we were going to get there faster. And I suppose that you had an enviable problem, David, insofar as you were growing really fast. There was a huge demand for your product. You had to keep pace with that, but you also had to maintain quality. You had to maintain the reason why you got into business in the first place. Was that your rationale when you decided to undertake this journey?
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of that involved, which is what you just said. We struggled with our identity, especially as opposed from the marketing aspect, and even sales guys. We grew so quickly in a short space of time. And we really needed to improve our structure within the company to empower reps and to take real control of the business again. And the assumption that communication is good both internally and externally to our end client, we were lacking a little bit there, and we needed advice on it.
So let's talk about what you did then. Colin, back to you. You told us the market that you're in, very competitive. Let's not beat about the bush here. There's a lot of big competitors, domestic and overseas. What did SMR do so that you could both compete with them, grow, and be relevant in a very busy market?
I think the thing that it brought to us was that we couldn't get the intelligence that we needed. So the sales to date up to sort of 2019, 2020, we were word of mouth using our personal relationships. And we noted that trying to move into a bigger market, we didn't have the accurate intelligence that we needed. And Siobhan said earlier on that you need to gather that intelligence to see where your company is going to go. So we worked in 11, 12 sectors before 2019. And we just realized it was spray and pray. We were working to everybody. We're trying to be all things to all men, but we had to actually hone that down and see which sectors were actually providing the profit and which clients were the more profitable clients. So as part of the whole process, we went through our full client list. We did an A, B, C, and a D valuation on each of them. And basically, we concentrated on our A and B clients, who are the most profitable, the most easy to do business with, and then started to move away from our C and D clients. And some of those clients were clients that we've had for many, many years, but there were hard decisions that we actually had to make to actually get into that process.
But can I ask you the question? Because that's a very difficult decision. To say, John, you've been very good to me from the start. You were our third customer on the books, but I'll tell you what, the bad news is you're not good enough for me anymore. I'm dropping you like a hot stone. Best of luck to you. How do you have those conversations, and how do you rationalize it in your own head?
Well, first you have to get through and get down into the finances of it and actually see what projects are actually making money. And you need the validated information behind that and the real intelligence. You can't go with a gut feeling anymore, especially going to a client that's been with you for 10, 15 years and telling them, actually, sorry, we don't need you as a client, or we don't want to be working for you as a client. And sometimes we actually had those meetings and the client was actually shocked. And then they changed their way of doing business. So now those clients have come back from a C client back into a B client, moving towards an A client again. So again, it's all about the conversation, the real frank conversation that you're having. And that can't be just at an executive level. It had to be down to our senior management level.
Keep the questions coming in, by the way. We'll get to them in just a minute. For frankly, then, Noel Dykes, you changed your target market. So in other words, were you applying the shotgun and put it back in the cupboard?
Yeah, in some respects, I mean, coming out of COVID, I think it's fair to say engagement and performance was a hot topic for many teams. And so we were out and we were getting lots of contact and also targeting lots of different industries and different verticals. Some of it was sticking and some of it wasn't. But yeah, a real focus on clarity of who were our best customers. So that kind of internal view of who we were working with, who of more of them we wanted to work with. And that narrowing really helped us refine our message so it resonated better. And what I mean by our message is everything from our website right through to our comms, our outbound comms, our marketing comms, all changed. And a really significant focus on who our buyer was, who was the saboteur within that, who was going to prevent it, and who was an influencer. And, we've seen really significant growth in terms of our average deal size going up 300%, a lot less demos to win ratio. So we were doing a lot more demos before the SMR last year to get a deal, and that's reduced, almost cut in half. And then, with a stronger recurring revenue, our lifetime value of customer has gone up significantly. So there are all the things I would definitely attribute to the SMR, but also, it gave us a really clear sense of who we wanted to work with, and their feedback loop. So customer, we've done a lot of the customer interviews around, what is it that's working really well? And that has helped us also target the product, not trying to sell wall to wall, so selling into a whole organization. We're now being able to modularize the product and sell it into teams within bigger organizations.
Yeah, the average deal size went up 300%. What about the website hits? There's a good stat of website hits as well, isn't there?
Yeah, that's almost 10x in terms of the amount of multi-user or monthly users coming to the website. So last year, it was in the hundreds, and now it's up in the thousands and growing significantly. And again, that's clarity on message, that's content marketing. That's really driving an agenda that's inbound, whereas before it was all outbound and it was targeting lots of different sectors.
I don't know why you're here at all. It clearly has been very unsuccessful for you. That you did the SMR review. Communication is a huge part of it as well, isn't it, David? For you guys, when you actually applied it, it's how you communicate with your customers and how you listen as much as speak to them.
Absolutely, yeah. That was a big finding, I suppose, for us. We got 5 teams together. We had management in attendance. And we had this consultant who was a neutral body who was steering the whole thing. And everything, of course, was blessed by our management department. And we just did a profiling. We did the insights, which was very good for our team across the board. And we found out like who is really making the money for us. And it's that 20-80 rule, I suppose, of 20% of clients are doing 80% of the business. And we named them, we profiled them, and we call them our gold clients. So those are the people that we target, both when we're communicating sales, or the marketing guys when they're sending out new messaging on branding or on products. So we know who we're looking at, who we're looking for now, really.
The market research projects that you undertook, Colin, that very much focused management's mind. How about down the food chain? How did it help them as they go out to sell? Because the last thing I'd imagine you should do is take an SMR review, keep it to yourself and not allow it to be fed out.
Exactly. Well, we actually asked all our senior management to put a list together of all the key clients that they believe we should be talking to. And then our coach went out and did an independent discussion with 18 clients. And the feedback that we've got back from them actually has been transformation for Ethos. It gave us total insight into how people perceive us, the pros that they thought we were good at, the benefits that we brought to projects, but also the information, because it wasn't one of the business team that actually did the interview. They were very open and honest, and we got the negatives against Ethos, which was probably more beneficial to us to change our company. Since completing this full survey, we've taken on a dedicated business marketing and brand person. We've taken on a dedicated HR and a recruitment person as well. So these were elements that were identified in this research that we were lacking as a company if we wanted to progress and grow and move into to different markets.
Have you advice for those people, Noel, who are starting on this journey right now? Again, there's 200 people watching us, 200 different companies, 200 different products, looking at different markets. How do you recommend they go about this? If they haven't started on the journey already, where should they start?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think this was a really valuable investment of our time and resources in terms of doing the SMR. And I would definitely take it serious regardless of size. I know previously when we met with Nagma and the team there, like it was bigger companies that were taking on the SMR. But for us, it was really about being strategic early on, as early as possible, doing the groundwork, all the things that the panel and the consultants have talked about this morning. Is like, if you don't know who you're selling to in what market and you're just building products, and we ran that risk. We were very product focused, very product led, but what it's allowed us to do is to get a better balance between sales and strategic marketing and product. And now our customers and our target market are actually pulling the direction of the product rather than us working in isolation. So I think if there are companies on here this morning that, have identified or are quite excited about an opportunity, it's really doing that strategic review, getting the insights early on, and no better framework, I would say, than to invest in what we're discussing here this morning.
And finally, the people are terrified of marketing as a rule, David. I've never met anybody who says I'm an expert at this, because if they are, I automatically assume they're not. You guys have become really good at social media, though, and using that to your advantage. And that's, again, a direct result of SMR.
Yeah, at the end, when we assessed ourselves and had a look what we were all about, look at our profile, who we really want to talk to in sales and marketing, I suppose we started to look at our stats as well on our insights on our social media platforms, and we saw what was working and what wasn't working. So we come up with this maiden mullen. We started to listen to our clients. They were saying to us, guys, we didn't realize you actually make all this in your factory in County Monaghan. We thought this was imported from China, and you guys just sell it on. That wasn't the case, actually. We make everything here from start to finish, and we export. And that journey of the making of, we're calling it, that has really worked for us. Taking the raw products and you see the product actually being made, shipped out the door. Our social media has done really, really well since that, and we've got a lot of new business through those platforms.
It's been a really brilliant journey that all of you have brought us on. So I'd like you to stay with us, because there may be questions that you guys can take. It's time for the Q&A section. So I'd invite Negma and Siobhan and Roddy to turn their cameras and the microphones back on as I throw random questions at you that you have absolutely no preparation done for. It is my favorite part of the webinar. This is from Deglon to begin. How you doing, Deglon? The SMR approach sounds familiar and similar to approaches espoused in EI's Enter the Eurozone program, which we completed last year. What's different about the SMR approach? Nagma, I'll put that one to you.
I suppose we would tell our clients that in order to enter a European market or a market, you need to have done some research in terms of what are your priorities, segments, and so on. So SMR actually complements the Enter the Eurozone. So if a client has already done Enter the Eurozone, maybe if they want to expand beyond or for the new sector, for the new markets they're looking at, or if they're thinking about entering the European market, they could actually do an SMR first, so they have actually clarity on the type of customers, the type of markets they need to chase before starting with Enter the Eurozone.
Okay, very good. Kieran has a question here. How can you entice clients or target markets to take place in research to gather insights? Let's put Colm, is that one for you?
I'm not too sure you can entice clients. I think you actually have to do your customer value proposition, really see what are you going to offer your clients, or so I think it's the intelligence review. You need to go into the market, you need to see what your company is going to differentiate from others. As Roddy had mentioned, going into France mightn't be the right idea, because there could be a company doing exactly the same and better than you. So I'm not too sure you're going to entice clients to you. I think it's what you have to do is prove to your clients what you can bring, what's bigger, better, and more affordable to them.
Roddy, is that where the trade shows and going out into the world and meeting people and speaking to Enterprise Ireland and people like yourself comes in, that that bird might fly in Mullingar, but it certainly won't fly in Munich?
Absolutely, and I'd actually, sometimes we actually start with the existing customers, and I've through the SMR process, I've challenged some clients to actually go out to their existing customers and ask the question, why do you choose to do business with us? And see what answer they get. And very often they're getting insights into how they create value in their existing markets from customers who are doing it. And one of the customers did it very recently, actually, and one of his biggest clients in Ireland, but are also a stepping stone into the international market for them. And the answer, without fault, the guy said, reliability. You guys are the most reliable guys we do business with. Now that's real insight value. And they were able to say, okay, how could we translate that to delivering value in the UK market, in the German market? So they're now gone out to those markets. They're sitting down with potential customers and they're asking the questions around, what's important to you when you do business with people like us?
Okay,
and that's where they're getting those insights.
About 5 minutes left on this, so we're now in the rapid fire round. Should an SME startup go the SMR route? Siobhan?
Yeah, I absolutely think they should. And I mean, I think the SMR is tailored for both SMEs and startups. And the consultants that you're working with will work, as I said earlier, in your context. So where are you? How many resources do you have? The last thing we want is to create an action plan that's unwieldy for the company and that they just can't execute on it. So it's tailored to the size of business that you're at, and no better time to be strategic than when you don't have very many resources. So it's really important that you focus from the start. And I think the SMR will help you with that focus and make sure that the next market you target is the right market for you and will drive your vision of success.
Thomas has a question here. What's your view on LinkedIn advertising? David, given that you did a lot of social, might have been targeting customers directly, did you use LinkedIn?
Absolutely, yeah. We're really getting stuck into LinkedIn now, especially your CEOs. Get not so much even the guys that are salespeople, get your CEOs on the LinkedIn. Our biggest market right now is the USA. It's working a treat because we're really finding who are the people to talk to, who are the buyers, who's the decision makers. Absolutely use LinkedIn.
One more here. In your experience, what's the one thing you need to keep in mind when pursuing B2B versus B2C sales? Noel, I'll give you that one. Is that something that you spent a lot of time worrying about?
Well, we're exclusively B2B, so
that's not a concern at all then.
It's not a concern, no. So yeah, I wouldn't have the B2C side, but definitely, yeah, the buyer and every decision in the buyer, like there's multiple people involved, so you need to be really clear about who you're selling to and the different value that you're going to bring to them, because they've got different concerns. And that was really, that's really important at an early stage. It's not just one message that's going to resonate with everyone.
There was a question, but I just can't find it on the screen here right now, about how much time this takes. I mean, did you have to hand over a huge amount of your time when you're trying to run the business to the process, or can you use the time constructively and cleverly?
Yeah, look, like Siobhan has touched on it, but was very tailored to what we wanted to get out of it. It was very focused. It was very much about us bringing the whole team on the journey as early as possible. So, yes, there was absolutely an investment of our time, but it was the right focus. And the more people you can bring in early across your team, sales and marketing as early as possible, get them excited, to run a town hall when you've got some clarity around what you're focusing on in SMR and what your priorities are, then everyone gets behind it. So this, it should be a team effort. Absolutely, I led it. But the investment in time was so worth it.
Okay, brilliantly. Roddy, I have to say, most questions are coming in about that tool that you're going to share the details on. It is more popular than tickets for the Garth Brooks concerts, by the look of it from the people who are watching us right now. So we'll make sure everybody gets that over time. Thanks to Colm, to Noel, to David, to Siobhan, and to Roddy. I'll leave you turn off your mics and your cameras now. Negma Riley of Enterprise Ireland, I'm going to finish up by handing over to you, because the whole purpose of today's exercise was that people speak to Enterprise Ireland, they speak to their advisor, and if they haven't started this journey, they consider starting it right now.
Yeah, so just following up on what Noel and Siobhan said, SMR is an offer for both startups and SMEs. So we deliver it into kind of two levels, as it were. We have a short engagement for companies with less than $500,000 turnover, where they can look at more short-term tactical challenges, and then a longer engagement where you would look at what really you need to do in the next 12 to 18 months. It's a more strategic approach. So if you're interested in what you've heard today, you can either contact your development advisor or contact us, and we're going to have the brochures and our contact link in the chat box as I speak. So what I'm going to wrap up now, I'm just going to mention some of the other sales and marketing supports that we offer our clients. First one is digital marketing capability. This is a support to help you enhance your company's capability to use digital channels to develop your business internationally. We always recommend clients to do SMR before looking at their digital strategy, because you need to be clear on your market segments and your value proposition before you invest in your social media and digital strategy. Then the next one we have is enter the Eurozone. So there was a question about that earlier today. Enter the Eurozone is really a program to help you secure your first order in a European market. You work with a number of our overseas offices in Europe to secure that first significant order. And again, the next steps, if you're interested, there is a briefing for Enter the Eurozone later this month, and the contact details for the program manager is included in the slide, and we'll include it in the chat box. Then finally, we also have masterclasses on digital lead generation, hybrid selling, and strategic product management. These are half-day online workshops that will help you gain insight into these topics and develop tools that you can apply to your business straight away. So again, contact details are on the screen and be shared in the chat box. So finally, I would like to thank our panel, Siobhan, Roddy, Noel, David and Colm. And of course, on behalf of everyone, I would like to thank Jonathan for being our MC today, for keeping us on time, and the conversations very interesting. So I hope you found today valuable, and we look forward to working with you on a one-to-one basis in the near future. Thank you.
Dagmar, thank you very much indeed. Everybody, thank you for your attention. It's been great speaking to you, albeit remotely, wherever you are right around Ireland or indeed around Europe. Thanks very much for joining us. All of the details will be emailed by Enterprise Ireland as well. If you've missed anything, this will be available to watch back as well for those who haven't been able to make it to join us today. The question I have to ask at the end of all of that is, if you haven't done it yet, what's stopping you? Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you.